Hey, we're live. Good afternoon, September 5th, 2024. First deribit of September of this year, so that's great. Bloody cold here, Richard. I know you're on holiday in Spain, but about 5 degrees today. 5 degrees
really?
Celsius. It's quite chilly. I went outside with my shorts on, and it was.
We had a big thunderstorm yesterday, but it's pleasantly warm today. I've been out on a boat on the sea today. It was.
Oh, really?
It was nice t-shirt weather,
Oh, you weren't like fishing. It was just more of a tourist thing, or
It was just we just rented one of these little 15 horsepower boats.
nice.
I would have rented something bigger, but Bitcoin's down, and everything's hard at the minute. So.
Yes, let's blame your holiday woes on Bitcoin. Yes. Speaking of Bitcoin woes, I saw, I get this little thing on this day in history. Every day it pops up, and I saw today that there is back in I think 2001 or something, there was evidence of a black hole at the center of the Milky Way, and that's what was causing the spiral and all kinds of things or whatever. But you don't need scientists and telescopes and spectrometer things and other BS to tell you about black holes. All you need to do is look at my P&L when Bitcoin goes down, and clearly there's some form of a black hole happening. So literally just as we started, there's some goddamn people working on the building, and they're using a hammer drill. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it was off. I was hoping they took siesta, and they did, but now they've just started, so hopefully it's not a problem. If it is, let me know, and I'll mute.
Yeah, I can't hear it, dude. You're okay.
Okay, great. So let's get into it. Let's see, what are we talking about today? Good question. Oh yes, this is a good topic. This is a nice topic. I like this. Is the smart money about to front run Bitcoin this month in September? And the idea and the working thesis here is, and I think that we've been, this is, I'm going to say it's nothing new in a way, because I think that even at the beginning of summer, and certainly in our private member calls we have every Monday, I think that the general thought was, who knows what's going to happen during the summer? It might be really quiet. Who knows? The ETF threw that off a little bit, I think. But we expected it to kind of start to wake up in September, but not necessarily rip to new highs. But October was when everybody just thought, okay, now we're going to start to make some big moves. So I think what we'll be discussing is, look, any little dips we're getting in September, are they going to be, BTFD, buy the dip? And I think there's a strong argument for that. Let me just bring up, we'll look at the chart, we'll look at ETF inflows, we'll look at a couple of things, and then I want to share a few articles I came across today, which I think kind of tie into that, and then we can finish it up. But just as a reminder to everyone, and let me just stop this. Just as a reminder, everyone, on our chat, you can put your questions into the Q&A section, please. We always have 10, 15 minutes at the end of the show, or 30-minute show, where we answer questions. So please put them into. Oh, hang on. Vladimir says you can't hear it. What do you mean? You can't hear me? Am I just talking to
Eric? No, he can't hear the hammer drill.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I was like, good. It's actually quite loud, even though I've got my headphones on. It's super annoying. I lived in Eastern Europe for years and years, and it always seemed like no matter what apartment I was in, whether it was like Romania or Ukraine, during the day, someone in every goddamn building has a hammer drill. I don't know if it's like, just like a play thing. They want to play with it, but I'm sure everyone from Eastern Europe can probably sympathize with my grief. All right, let me go ahead.
One of the reasons I lived in an apartment block for about 6 months when I was about 19, and I've never done it since. I think it's the main way to live.
Yeah, and growing up in Canada, especially rural Canada, I didn't even know that. I mean, I knew apartments existed because I'd saw them on television.
Yeah,
but it was certainly like this weird alien concept of not having this big yard and animals running around. So
imagine living near other people. That'd be awful.
Yes, the unwashed masses. Yes. All right, let me share my my screen here. What am I sharing? Yeah, I'm going to share my whole screen. Let me make this big. You can see that? You can see that? Yeah. Okay, good. I noticed that the S&P down a little bit. Had that big drop off. That was Tuesday, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Just kind of holding still, but I think there's a lot of fear in the market still, and I think that's what's kind of suppressing everything. Everything else being equal, I think Bitcoin's going to move in.
Well, what happened? There was
in unison.
What's her name? Pelosi.
Yeah.
She sold her calls in Intel, or no, not Intel, in Nvidia. Yeah, which of course scared the crap out of people, and then of course Nvidia was coincidentally hit with a lawsuit about antitrust lawsuit. I mean, it's amazing how that woman is lucky, how she sells stuff before bad news hits, right?
Richard, you're being very kind by saying lucky, because we all know.
No, listen, I don't want to hit squad to come and focus its attention on me, so I'm not saying anything.
Here's Nvidia. Look at that.
But I mean, Nvidia has pretty much been what's holding the US market up, right? So to learn that not only is it a Ponzi scheme, it's also about to get hit with an antitrust lawsuit. It's going to spook everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at this, $1,300 in June. Okay, we know there's things going on. All right, but one thing I did notice was the VIX. VIX creeping up again. Sitting around 2021. That's kind of
People
interesting.
buying puts.
Yeah, there's a lot of caution out there, and that's why I think if the trad market sneeze, we're going to see Bitcoin get affected. Another thing I want, and maybe I'll just go back here to Bitcoin. When we look at from 1 hour chart, look, we're still staying within the parameters of our range. Now here it's been this kind of smaller range with this pink area in the middle. We're still staying within it. Yes, we're clinging to the bottoms, but we clung to the bottom before too. And every time we got up anywhere near the unicorns, that was the right trade. We'll see what happens. And, given what's happening in the traditional markets, if this is the worst that's going to happen, this is the worst it can pull down Bitcoin, then who knows? We start to get some positive news and events going on.
It was interesting how yesterday, clearly people wanted to buy it, right? I mean, Japan had a scare about something, but people wanted to buy it, and they got smacked down again today. But I don't know. Yeah,
almost got to 59. Yeah. In our Discord channel, I had right up around here, I'd sold some 59.5 calls, which have already been bought back. So that was a great trade. So I was pretty happy about that. Sorry, you were saying something there, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost as if someone is being forced to offload, and they're doing it in Asian hours almost. I mean, I'm completely speculating, but.
Okay. But, I might have some information on that in the news articles I'm going to share. But if we look at the, I think this is updated. Yeah, the ETF inflows here, we could see there was net outflows again yesterday, but less so than the previous 2 days, which saw quite heavy outflows. And BitB was a net buyer. iBit was at 0.
It's fascinating to me how iBit is like a ratchet, it never sells. So the people are using almost as if they're using other ETFs for speculation, but they're using BlackRock for accumulation. Do
you think that it's actually 0, or for some reason and not just reporting negatives, or is it too cumbersome to sell it so there literally is 0? I don't know.
Now you're getting into the realms of conspiracy. I mean, who knows? Maybe BlackRock have reserves and they buy their own stock in order to keep it from going negative. Who knows, right?
Yeah, that could be. Just taking a quick look at liquidation levels here. Nothing crazy. Nobody's super over leveraged right now. I've got a bit of liquidity down, 56 to 56 and a half. On the upsides, 57.2, not much, really kind of at 58.5, kind of where it got up to yesterday. So really not a lot to talk about. We do have some economic events. We've got the unemployment claims, I guess now, basically are almost coming up now. And tomorrow we have the core PCE price index, but the where is it here? Why don't I? Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Hang on. This is the wrong day. This is the wrong day. I was thinking, hey, no, there should be a different. There it is. Today is the ISM, PMI. Yes. And tomorrow's the day that I was concerned about because I've got the unemployment rate. That's the one right there tomorrow.
Well, but we already know that everyone's working 4 part-time jobs and there's no jobs to be had, right?
Yeah, there's been lots of articles about fudged numbers and that they can't fudge them anymore. It's just dismal. So I think that's what kind of the market's sort of waiting on a little bit. So we're not going to any big action until tomorrow. So who knows what's going to happen at 2:30 p.m. Central European time.
It's funny, isn't it, how it all went from super optimistic, like that any bad news was good news a month ago, and now any good news is bad news. So markets have these sort of sentiments that I feel that the actual news doesn't really do very much. It's not. The news isn't important. That's just the catalyst for whatever the market wants it to do.
So you feel it's just always just more sentiment.
Oh yeah, I think people. I mean, summer's here. People have the FOMO's gone away. You know, the Nvidia is no longer going up. There's no longer a feeling of you can't lose. And now people have to think about, okay, what is the real value? What is going to be the outcome? What's going to happen if Trump wins? If Kamala wins? If if they lower rates, if they don't, why would And whereas 2 months ago it was, oh yeah, they'll lower rates, everything's going to go to the moon. Now it's, oh yeah, they're going to lower rates because, oh god, we're in trouble. And it's the same news. We all know what the news is going to be, but we just have a different spin on it because we all get affected by the same mass hysteria. Well, or the media implants that mass hysteria in us because we're all susceptible to suggestion, right?
Yeah. Interesting time for sure. So just before we talk a little bit more about this, smart money buying pre-October, let me just share a few of the articles I saw that piqued my interest. I saw this today. This came up on Cointelegraph, and I saw it in deribit. I don't know a lot about this. If this is a big deal for a lot of people, I don't use a crypto card, although I should, and I probably will set something up soon. But is this a big deal for people? This Mastercard enabling non-custodial
crypto debit card enabling you to spend crypto from self-custodial wallets at over 100.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how it's different from what they're using now.
I guess you could argue that it allows people to save, to hodl Bitcoin, and then spend, what they need to spend without having to convert it to money and keep it as money. So you could argue that it should mean that more Bitcoin comes off exchanges and just sits there in these wallets. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if a hardcore Bitcoin hodler is ever going to trust a credit card company with their custody, right?
Well, you've got control over your crypto private key as like the first point for self-custody, right? So you're not, the point is they don't have control. So
maybe, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know. I mean, for some people, maybe it's a real big deal. And I'm not saying this is going to be news that would move the market. It's more of a sides interest thing for people who use it.
I always run these things past my mother test, right? Would my mother use it? And the answer is absolutely not. Like she would say, why would I want to convert my pension into Bitcoin, right?
Yeah. All right, I should be calling up your mom and asking her.
Yeah.
All right. So the other article I saw too was, I think this really just kind of expresses what maybe even you were talking about. So they're saying, look, goes below 57K, selling on the rise. So like you said, it's like people wanted to push it up yesterday, but just too many sellers are coming in. And I think it really just has to be, they're saying right here, reg flag for traditional risk assets. I think that's it right now. Everybody's stressed about, we saw oil get monkey hammered. It's clubbed like a baby seal. It's down around 69. I think gold was struggling a bit. But we see the VIX rising. I think there's a lot of fear.
I get the impression. I operate in the sort of business environment as well, and you get a sense of things, right? And I realise I'm not in the centre of London like I used to be. I'm out in the mountains in Andorra, so I don't really get as much of the zeitgeist as I used to. But you kind of feel in the air that everyone's kind of just short of cash, and there isn't liquidity out there like there used to be. And so how can people buy, people on the margins, how can they buy stocks, and how can they buy crypto when they haven't got any cash to feed themselves? I'm not saying it's quite that bad, but there's kind of this sense of, things aren't looking so amazing. I mean, during COVID, it was fantastic because they were just showering people with money. And so, people were, half of a certain demographic in the US were basically committing fraud to get COVID loans to start businesses. And then they would go and spend the money on Camaros and shrimp dinners, right?
And it turns out now politicians were also stealing money like that. Tim Walz, and so 250 million and all that stuff. So yeah,
and it was good times, right? Because the money was flowing, and everyone loves that. But I guess that's not going to happen anytime soon, right? So we're actually having to work in an economy that is damaged beyond repair through 40 years now of utter mismanagement and misallocation of wealth. We've transferred all manufacturing capability to China, and we have none in Europe or the US. And even Boeing can't build airplanes that can stay in the sky. There's just there's this just massive creaking, crumbling sound about the whole economy. Right?
No, you're 100% right. And I was reading some information about Germany and trying to start up some arms manufacturing. They can't even produce the steel anymore because they've sabotaged themselves on energy. So we're in a completely different world than we were, like I said, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And one really wonders what the hell's going to happen in 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, never mind 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
I think my pet theory, actually, there's a whole lot of conspiracy theories about this, about outside influences and all the rest of it. But actually, my pet theory is that Westerners, i.e. Europeans, people like me and you, are naturally barbarians. And we're not comfortable if things are comfortable. We want to be out there fighting.
Yes.
So we will actually, damage our own economies and our own way of life so that we can revert back to type. That's what I think.
Yes, and again, not to go off the rails too far, is I saw an interesting talk on Joe Rogan, and a guy was talking about when the polarity of the Earth flips and how it basically resets everything because there's these massive tsunamis and winds, and so maybe that's what's going to happen. It's going to hit reset. There'll be maybe 10,000 people left, and we'll all start from the beginning again. Okay. And you know why I changed the screen? I didn't want this to be kind of this guy with his hat, showing while we're talking here. Here's the last article I want to share. And again, everyone, please, if you want to join us at roguetrader.academy and join us for chats every Monday with our members, our real-time trade alerts and all kinds of great stuff, just check us out. Or our live trading every day, you can check us out at patreon.com, Rogue Trader Academy. Last article I want to share. And I thought this was interesting. Now, I don't know who this Thea research guy is. Maybe he's a famous too. I have no idea who this guy is, but I saw this article. So kudos to him. I don't know him. I saw this headline. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Bitcoin is 5 times less volatile at 60K today than in 2021 when it went up to about 70K. I was thinking, okay. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, okay, that makes sense. And he's basically saying that one thing I'll point out here. Leverage has drastically diminished, and spot buyers and sellers are now the dominant force driving Bitcoin's day-to-day price. Okay, but when he's talking about this leverage out of the picture, it's much more stable because last time we were up at this area in 2021, of course, it was just a brief run up and then a big crash. Now he does say something about the summer being kind of quiet, which I disagree with because we had a 30% drop, for Christ's sakes, and there's a lot of big leverage, massive liquidation events. But it's true that we've been holding this range. I mean, there's no, as Canadians would say, there's no do to boot it. It's just bloody. What am I looking for? Let me, if I zoom out to a 4-hour chart, I mean, we've been in this from, 70, 72 at the bottom down to 50-ish on the top to 50 on the bottom. And we've been here for a long bloody time, since March. So yes, it does make sense that it's much less volatile, but I suppose the point of his article here, and he says, as a result, there's much more stability present in Bitcoin's current price at 60K that was in March at 70K. And I do. Here's where he says summer's been boring. I don't know if it's
been boring. But in fairness, that's previous 70K high back in 2021 was due to a massive dumping of liquidity into the markets, and then that liquidity being transferred from foolish speculators into the pockets of people who knew what they were doing. So, yeah, I think that the times are different. I see Bitcoin's fallen a bit again. What I see in Bitcoin at the moment is I look at the BTC liquidation maps on CoinGlass, and it's kind of very predictable. You can see the concentrations of liquidity, and Bitcoin goes through them and back out regularly every day, just on the 24-hour liquidation. If you look at the liquidation heat map, that's why I find it easier to read.
This one, yeah.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the 24-hour, so here you've got liquidity down at 56.2. So that looks like that's going to get taken out. And then I would say the next stop would be like 57.4.
Up here. Yeah, because if this gets taken out, this liquidity will move down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it'll, and I suppose you're right. I know a lot of times on Telegram when we're chatting, you'll see it. It just finds that liquidity and it punches it. It kind of ping pongs it.
Actually, what you see is this is measuring what's on. I think it's on Binance, and this actually wicks through the liquidity in a way that deribit doesn't, because deribit's price is an aggregate price on time weighted price. So you'll get wicks on Binance that you don't get on deribit, and those wicks actually punch through this liquidity, liquidate it all, and then the market goes off to find the next liquidity to liquidate. And it's almost like it's while the markets are quiet, the market makers and dealer brokers are determined to liquidate and destroy everybody else and just take all the Bitcoin.
And that's the point I was going to make, is they can do this ping pong and just hit it because it's thin markets. It's quiet.
Yeah, and I think all it's going to do is just damage confidence to the point where actually there'll be no retail left in the liquid markets.
But if you're a market player, you're trying to find ways to make money every day, and really that's it right now, unfortunately.
I think there's a strategy here of literally just place buy and sell orders on these liquidation levels and wait, like fishing.
Just ping pong. Yeah. It's been difficult trading for a lot of people this summer. We were doing really well up until the end of July, and August threw us off a little bit with the big dump, and we're still recovering some accounts. That's the way she goes. Prices go up, prices go down, things happen. It's the market.
And it's not our prop trading alone for rogue traders. Also, the strategy I run for funds for August, we had a 0.79% drawdown for August. Weren't doing anything, that we don't always do. We made 40% this year so far, and then August just doesn't want to give us any money. Simple as that.
And September is traditionally a down month or a quiet month, which is and back to the topic of this kind of pre-buying or taking opportunities to buy or slowly accumulate before October. Historically, because September is a down month and October is an up month, that makes sense too. And we'll probably get more volatility.
So given that we're getting short time, knowing that, if we believe that October is still October, I do have a concern that everyone says that, and when everyone's saying something, then maybe it isn't true. But if it is, then obviously the time to buy to get long would be September, right? And if you wanted to get long, and you were a big player and you had the ability to move the market around, wouldn't you want to crash everybody else out of the market in the early part of September to really destroy confidence and destroy their ability to participate, and then take all their Bitcoin and get long for the second half of September? Wouldn't that be the right trade?
And in a many way, that's what we see on these liquidity hunts. So why wouldn't they do it also on a macro level? If you had the ability, I certainly would be. And we all know that people have the ability in Bitcoin. We all know there's all kinds of things that happen.
I'm suspicious as hell. The Bitcoin community have been desperate for Wall Street to get involved in Bitcoin for a couple of years, and they all celebrated, these ETFs. But now they're going to reap what they sow, right? You ask for a pact with the devil, well, you've got it, right? These motherfuckers don't mess around, right? And they outweigh you in every way. They've got money, credit lines that you could only dream of. Yeah. So, and you ain't going to compete. Yeah.
And software and analysis and everything else, the other resource. It's a deal with the devil for sure. So
they've got perfect information from the likes of Binance and all those information feeds that come off these exchanges and deribit and so on. Plus, they've got their own information between themselves. The information asymmetry between them and you is, infinite.
Mm-hmm.
And they can hook into credit lines that you can't. So I think it's
doom and gloom.
I think you got to be careful. I think you got to be really. I think you got to keep leverage low, because the information is also out there about how leveraged everybody else is.
Mm-hmm.
So they know how leveraged you are. So they know exactly how much they've got to spend to take everyone out, and leave themselves with all the Bitcoin.
Keep your leverage low, wait for the stupid events to happen, then get in and have a little bit more macro view of the market, because it'll probably be just fine. And now that's not advice, but generally we can look at this since March. No matter what you did, unless you bought at the top at 72 or sold the bottom at 48, you would have been just fine with pretty much any trade, or you could have at least gotten out flat or something, or very small loss. So the people who get hurt, the ones who get liquidated. So that's
and then of course, if people aren't properly liquidated by October, Wall Street could also make you wait till November or December. Right?
Yeah, and as we get closer to November, the U.S. presidential election, I'm sure that's going to throw some volatility into the mix as well. So I really do think we're going to start waking up, and I know some of our members have talked a lot about that as well. They're not really expecting much to happen until October, and this is stuff that we're talking about back in May and June and July. And I do generally tend to agree. Now, at any time between then and in the future, you can get news, anything can happen. Sure, it's the markets, but overall, I think so. So we only have one question so far right now. This wasn't really a topic so much, question inducing. But Vladimir, so he says, depends on next year's futures premiums. It looks like people still not sure which direction will go next, because at the money or right in the middle of premium. I think that's a good point. Now, I don't really take a look at like what's going on next March and stuff. What that premium looks like.
Well, there's a few things going on. The vol surface is all negative skew up to 2 months out. Has been for the past 2 months. The futures premium back a year out is low. That means that people are not willing to pay for futures, overpay for futures, which means that either the upward sentiment is muted, or no one's got any money to make leverage bets on the upside. We've had negative funding rates on average, I think, for a little while on perps. So,
I'm just quickly looking at June of 2025. So, 10 months down the road, and we can see at the money is about 65, which is kind of interesting.
What is the at the money? 60,600, whereas the market's currently at 57. 56.
Yeah, 56 and a half.
So, so the futures premium is about 10%, right?
Yeah.
So it's the cost of carry is about 10% for a year out. I mean, that's towards the lower end of what it normally is.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. I think that people need to wait and see what's going to happen with the traditional assets. I think before they. Yeah, I think the best advice we can give people is just keep that leverage low, and expect the unexpected. If someone said no, Shane, I just want to be long gamma right now. I wouldn't blame you for a second. You could burn through some money. It could take a while. It could take 6 weeks, but we know Bitcoin's going to move 10, 50% one direction or the other, probably pretty damn soon too. Just, can you wait it out? Because I feel like, selling systematically for most people right now is probably a big mistake. And as you say, they're hunting liquidity right now because they can. It's just there. They're trying to make money. This is how they can do it until more volume comes in or some volatility or some big news event. I think you're just going to have to keep that leverage super low, just jump on opportunities when they pop up, and just be very opportunistic in your trading. And I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
What's Vladimir saying here? He's saying 8.7% at this moment. Yep, this is around the middle now. If it drops to 6%, premium prop will be the right time to start longing. Okay.
Fair, right? Well, if the premium drops to 6%, then you're not paying much more than you would just by borrowing money from in the money markets, right? So that would be cheap for Bitcoin. That would indicate pretty much that no one thinks it's going up. But of course, here's us saying keep leverage low, and thereby, and if everyone out there takes our advice, guarantees that the market isn't going anywhere because it's leverage that makes the market move.
Yeah, or at least make sure you're not too short. Yamma, I think, is probably a safe bet. And we're okay. We lay on 1x2 long spreads and things like that. Where hey, you're not sure, but if the market does move, you want to cash in and lose too much. Well, okay, you'll have to manage some of that short side. But if you're a total degen and you need to trade, well, that might be a good trade to make. But maybe not shorting anything until the market moves and you feel confident that liquidity's already been taken out, and then you're jumping on, you're taking advantage of their pain of where they're rolling to. That's where you're picking up the premium. And that's a nice feeling, to feel like you're you're one step ahead. Sometimes it works out that you're not, but it feels good at the time anyways. Because the market can, that 5% move can be a 12% move and you're like, oh dear. Yeah, it's Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin, right?
And also, if you're not sure, then take a holiday, right? You don't have to trade today.
Take a break. Yeah. There's always going to be opportunities.
I'm mindful that we are hosted by deribit, and they would love everyone to trade every day. But deribit, there's something deribit values more than people paying them massive fees every day, and that's people paying them massive fees every day forever. And if you blow yourself up, you can't pay any more fees, right? So it's in everyone's interest for you to take a holiday now and again and trade when you feel it's right.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, I think we're going to shut it down here. We're slightly over time. If there's any last questions, please feel free to drop them in. And I'll remind everyone again, you can check us out at roguetrader.academy and join us for our weekly weekdays live trading. We have a members call every Monday. And live trade alerts. So when we make trades, we let you know what we're up to. All right. I think that's it for today, Richard. Hey, enjoy the rest of your holiday down there in Spain, and we will see you next week.